what's more important to me is not the money, but it's like you literally only get one life, bro, and I don't want to waste it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to waste my time in a place that I don't like being. You know what I mean? So
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with one of the GOATs of Charlotte, actually a native Charlotte, which I never get to meet. I never get to meet. What's up, Daryl? How you doing, brother?
I'm pretty good, man. Pretty good. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm amazing. How would you actually introduce yourself?
I would just say, honestly, I would just say I am a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. Just a creator, man. Like all over the board, music, video, everything. You know what I mean?
Outside of, because a lot of times we introduce ourselves with titles, right? With accomplishments, with accolades, the things that are going to spark people's curiosity.
Yeah.
Who were you outside of your titles?
Outside of that, man, I'm just honestly, I'm a dude who is just constantly trying to figure out what's next. I'm constantly trying to evolve and trying to grow and trying to build, just in different ways. Even like the main categories to me are mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And I'm always just trying to figure out, like, how can I get better? How can I learn more? How can I know more? And so just like little things like me journaling and me like meditating, like that type of stuff to me, like, I don't know, like I'm kind of going off. You know what I mean?
No, that's good.
But yeah, I'm just a dude, man, who I feel like I should know how to answer that question, but I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I don't know how to answer that question.
And it's crazy because a lot of people that we talk to on the podcast, right? They are so focused on, I run this company, or I've built this, or I'm a YouTuber, content creator, or this. But if we minimize all the titles, mom, dad, I'm a this, I'm a that, but we just talk about the essence of who we are to the core, it's so hard for us to be able to describe that person. But I like what you're saying about, I focus mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all these different ways.
Yeah.
When did you start to implement those areas and see the importance in those areas in your life?
So honestly, I wouldn't even say like it was a moment where I just started implementing. It was more so like, I know one of the biggest turning points for me was when COVID hit, because so prior to COVID, I want to say October, I should know it. I want to say October 2018 or 2019, again, I should know it, is when I quit my job at the pawn shop and I just kind of went full time into YouTube, which was full time, but really I was lifting. I was door dashing and stuff like that. And right before, like, I was in a rhythm of making money off of lifting and stuff like that. And then when COVID hit, of course, the buildings closed, ain't nobody working. And so I'm like, man, what am I going to do? And so I literally, like, I'm sitting down at my desk and trying to figure out, I don't want a part-time, like, because at this point I've been doing Lyft. I'm working like 3 hours a day, making $300. And I'm like, I'm at the pawn shop, I was making $500 every 2 weeks. So like, this is dope. So now I'm not making no money. And so I literally had to sit down and teach myself financial literacy. I had to teach myself, like, how do I grow from here? How do I go from here? And it's like a thing where I'm constantly learning, because even like, I just moved into my own spot 2 weeks ago. So I'm still fresh. And like these 2 weeks I've been on my own, I'm even learning about myself. Like I just started journaling last week. Like I'm constantly just trying to figure out, like, like who am I and how do I operate? You know what I mean? And that was one of the biggest things for me when it came to like just like living by myself, because I'm like, like I've been under the jurisdiction and under like other people's opinions and perspectives for so long. Now I have to take myself away and say, who am I? Like, what do I think? As opposed to like me asking somebody else what they think. It's like, now I'm forced to be in a place where it's like, I have to make all the decisions.
I like that.
I have to make all the decisions. I have to handle all responsibilities. And for a long time, well, not for a long time, it's only been 2 weeks, but for the first week, it was really a struggle, bro. Like I'm sitting in this place, I'm talking about, where I'm like, I think I know myself until I'm sitting in the living room and I'm lonely and I'm bored out of my mind. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, I thought I knew myself. And so like, there was those doubts where I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But as time progressed, and now I'm in a place where like, I love it, strangely, but it took a little while for me to understand, like, how do I operate? How can I like who am I? Who is Daryl? You know what I mean? Like I don't know if this is making sense.
No,
I don't
definitely.
know. I don't know. Yeah.
How would you? So somebody's listening right now, and they're going through that process,
Yeah.
right? Because I think it's marketed and publicized. You got to know yourself. You got to know your dreams. You got to know your goals. You got to know your triggers. All these different things, but we never talk through the strategies on how we actually identify the things that make us us, in a sense. What were the first few steps that you took to be able to begin your journey?
I would say honestly, man, it's the first step and the biggest step for me is honestly to just jump into it, because you won't know unless you get into it. Like I can sit here and tell you, like, oh, when it comes to loving yourself, you want to journal and you want to meditate. I can tell you all these things, but until you actually get out there, you're not gonna you can't fully understand it. So for me, it's more, I try not to bury myself in work, because I find that though I'm getting work done, it's like when I'm off the computer and I'm on the couch by myself, it's like
that's when you really got to deal with yourself.
Right. So now I'm lost again. So I find, honestly, bro, I really find like solace, and I'll watch YouTube videos of people just talking sometimes, just like going through, like I was watching YouTube videos on loneliness, like just sitting there kind of like, because I'm thinking to myself like, yo, one, this is something I've never had to talk about, because nobody that I know have admitted like, yo, I'm lonely. Like I don't know what I'm doing right now. So I'm literally like watching YouTube videos, and I'm like, man, so one, I'm not the only person going through this, and they're giving me strategies. They're giving me strategies in terms of like journaling, in terms of like talking to myself. Like I talk to myself, honestly, right? I do. And I enjoy it, because it helps me work through things. You know what I mean? Like I can be showering or something, and I'll just like start a conversation with myself, and it might sound weird, you feel me? but to me it's dope, because like honestly I've had so many breakthroughs and like so many realizations just talking out loud to myself, and I'm like, man, that makes a lot of sense, and I make moves off of it. So in terms of strategies, I would just say the first and biggest strategy is to just get into it. Like I was nervous to live by myself. I ain't even gonna lie, because like normally when you move out, like this is me moving from my parents' house. Yeah. Normally you move out, you move with a sibling, you move with a spouse. You know what I'm saying?
A roommate, somebody.
Right. But most of the time, I think it's one, because people don't want to deal with themselves. You know what I mean? Like either one is like, because of course you got like the cost of living and stuff like that, so you want to make sure you can handle responsibilities and bills. And two is like, you don't want to deal with yourself. And I'm like, yo, I want to force myself to deal with myself. You know what I mean? And I've always been like that. Even when it came to the pawn shop, like I quit on a whim, bro. Like I just up and left, no money, no nothing. But I know what's more important to me is not the money, but it's like you literally only get one life, bro. And I don't want to waste it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to waste my time in a place that I don't like being. You know what I mean? So
you talked about breakthroughs, right? And you talked about sometimes when you are having these conversations with yourself, and we all do it, right? Yeah. That you realize that you've had some type of breakthrough about something that you maybe felt or experienced or even feel. What is one breakthrough that you've had recently that has really been able to reshape your thinking?
That's good. So one thing I have lately, right? Or one breakthrough that I've had lately is, so I remember I had a podcast or something a while ago where somebody asked me, yo, so you doing YouTube and you doing all this stuff or whatever, what's next? And I never knew what was next. I never know, and I still don't know. I'm like, yo, like I've never been good, and I want to be careful when I say that, because I don't want to say I'm not good at something, because I just haven't practiced it. But like when it comes to forecasting and 5-year plan, 10-year plan, when people ask me that, it's like I lock up. I'm like, bro, I don't know. You know what I mean? And I was so down on myself about it until one day, really, I think I was journaling, and I came to the realization that, yo, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do in 5 years. I don't know what I want to do in 10 years. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Because life is full of unknowns. It's not like I never knew I'd be a comedian. I never knew I'd be a YouTuber. I never wanted to be in front of camera. Like outside of this, I film podcasts outside of this. Like I'm not always in front of the camera. I never knew I wanted to do this. I don't think I'm funny. You feel me? Like I never knew that I'd be doing this.
Nah, you definitely funny, bro.
I appreciate it.
We gonna get to that.
I appreciate it. But I never knew that I would be in this position that I'm in. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, for me to get down on myself about not knowing what I'm doing tomorrow, not knowing what I'm doing in 5 years, is like, for what? It's like, let's just, like, for me, I'm just leaving myself open to possibility, because, and the thing about it is, because I don't have the desire right now to like do movies or TV or nothing. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, yo, so what is this all for? Like, I'm making comedy videos, but like, what's next? And honestly, it's like, I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to force myself to want to be in these places that I don't really want to be in, or I don't have the desire to be in. So I'm just open to, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep creating. And if somebody approaches me with the right opportunity, or I find the right opportunity, I'll do it. But it's not like in 5 years, I want to be on this or on that. It's like, nah, I'm going to let God handle it. And I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing.
In this season that you're currently in, what would you want? Personally. Because I think a lot of times, so many times we teach ourselves, or we're taught to like think 5 to 10 years from now. And it's like, that's not realistic. You know, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow. If anything could happen in this season, what would you want it to be?
Actually, and this might be a different answer than what you're looking for. I'm in the process of really getting my health together. And I'm talking about spiritual health and also mental health, physical health, because I'm in this place, right, where you ever get to a place where you don't know what's wrong with you, but something's wrong with you? Like, I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like, I remember at one point I was having like literal panic attacks and anxiety attacks out of nowhere, and they just kind of stopped and are never dealt with. And so for me right now, it's like in this season, I want to get my diet together. I want to start working out and exercising, and I really want to. I've been saying I want to go to therapy for the longest time, bro. I really want to go to therapy, just because I feel like it's so much baggage that hasn't been dealt with. Like, a lot of people don't know, and this is something we can get into later. A lot of people don't know, like, these videos I'm making, like, people love my whole Pops character. I can't say I don't have a father, but I've never met my father. I don't know his name. I don't know what he looked like. I don't know anything about him. Not a single thing. And so the whole Pops character came as like my interpretation of what a father would be. Oh. And it's kind of like I live vicariously through the character Daryl, which is myself, but because of the, like I don't know, but like,
now let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So you're essentially, you've created, because I always thought that you had a father, and you're just kind of recreating that, right?
Right.
And essentially what you're doing is you're living through the image of what you never had.
Exactly.
And being able to create entertainment from it.
Right.
Where did this come from?
You know what it is, man? I think it's I always say, like, every character to a certain extent is an extension of me. Like, literally every character. Like, I could point to every character and tell you like what pieces of me are in that character. And when it came to the Pops character, originally what I thought it started was like when I first started making skits or whatever, it was like the easiest character to have was a parent character. And then as the Pops character developed, I started seeing pieces of like, man, like little pieces of this. So, okay, so if you watch my videos, Pops is the very, I don't want to say aggressive, but he's very like, say what he mean what he say.
Exactly.
And that's a piece of me that I wish I had. I'm very mellow, very lenient. Like, I don't say what's on my mind a lot of times just because another thing I've realized, just being in the solitude of being by myself, I'm a people pleaser, and I have to fix it, because I'm like, it's like I care what people think way too much, and I'm working on it. Whereas Pops, I can say F this and F that. You feel me? And be okay with it. So literally, bro, honestly, there are videos I have where I might leave from here, I go to Walmart or something, have a situation happen, and I can't respond how I want to respond in the moment, so I go make a video about it, and I'll respond as Pops how I would have responded in the moment at Walmart.
How does that make you feel though? Because it's essentially you're living two realities. You're living through this character and this person that you want to be, but you're in reality, you're this kind of this passive person. How do you live both lives? That's crazy.
I don't know, man.
That's kind of dope though.
It's such a weird dynamic, bro, because like I really don't know, bro. Like, I've had people ask me how I get into character when it comes to Pops, because like people who know me know I don't even curse. Like I really I'm real. I don't, but like for Pop, I feel like, not that I feel like I have to, but it's because I can finally say what I want to say sometimes. Exactly. Like I can be open, and I can really like again say what I want to say. So I really don't. That's a good question. again, no, that's one of those things where it's like I don't fully understand it. So it's like that's why like I want somebody to unpack my mind for, or not unpack it for me, but like I want somebody to like really break this stuff down for me, because I feel like it's, again, a lot of stuff that's just not. I don't know, a lot of baggage that I want to figure out. You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So.
I talked about the other day about how if we were to land from being on a plane and all, we have 60 passengers and all of the 60 passengers check bags, and then we're in baggage claim and we were to get all of the bags. When we go to our Uber, let's say the Uber is even a Suburban, we can't put 60 suitcases in the back of in the back of a Suburban.
Right.
And a lot of times we are delaying our ability to get to our destination because the current vehicle that would be able to take us to our destination won't allow for all the baggage that we're trying to carry.
Yeah.
Right? And for you to be able to get to that next level, for you to be able to become the man that I believe that is there, but you're still kind of going through your process, we have to unpack the baggage in order to being able to impact our lives.
Yeah.
When you think about your life, what is one story, what is one experience, what is one moment that you could best describes who you are in this present?
Best describes who I am. Dang, that's a good question. I would say, if I could think of one moment, one story, honestly, the first one that comes to mind would be me quitting the pawn shop, man. Like, because it was such, like, it was one of those things where like I wasn't making money anywhere else. Like that was my only source of income outside of like me doing photography every now and again. And what really changed my perspective about it is because I had this lady who paid me $300 for 30 minutes of my time to take her pictures. Mind you, I'm making $500 every 2 weeks at the pawn shop. I'm like, yo, like, wait a minute. I can make $300 in like 30 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, something ain't right. So for me, it was like after going to this place for months and months, for years really, 'cause I was there for 3 years.
How long until you quit the pawn shop did this lady pay you?
Probably
like how far? Like
maybe like 6 months or so.
Okay,
6 months
so
or so.
You're working at the pawn shop. How long were you at the pawn shop?
About 2-3 years.
Okay, so you were there 2 to 3 years. You were making roughly $500 every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And 6 months before you officially quit, this woman paid you $300 for 30 minutes essentially of your time to take some pictures.
Right.
At that moment, walk me through the emotions that you felt.
I felt like I was being scammed or something. Like
that you were being scammed?
Not scammed, but not scammed, but it's like
you robbed somebody.
It's like if you can make this type of money in this little bit of time, it's like, why would I continue to be? And then at the same time, mind you, I'm at the pawn shop. I'm working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like working crazy shifts, and I have a love-hate relationship with my old manager because like he was so blunt that bro, I promise you, like I'll never forget. I went in there one time. Now, mind you, so before the pawn shop, I worked at Target, and I had transferred, or I transitioned from Target to pawn shop all in like one jump. I stopped working at Target. I went to the pawn shop, and so basically I was working like 6 years straight, no vacation, no break, no nothing. And I went to my manager at the pawn shop, and I told him like, yo, like, I just want a week break for my birthday or whatever. And he straight up just told me, nah, it's not gonna happen. Because you had like this person got a vacation here, my vacation is here, this is there, this is there, this is. He basically broke down the entire year to me saying, nah, this is why you can't get a vacation. And
wow.
Like,
how did that make you feel?
I felt like I didn't have control. Like literally, I like equated to a fidget spinner. So you got like the center, and the center of my life was my job. My job determined if I could go to church. It determined if I could see my brother graduate. It determined if I could take my mama to the doctor. It determined if I could eat. Like, I hated having to ask a man if I can go to lunch, if I could use the bathroom. Like, and then he would straight up tell me no. Like, he would straight up be like, nah, you can't. Like, bro, there was a lot in that little period of time. But aside from that, even after the lady paid me $300 to do her pictures, is when I started going to meetups, and I found this YouTube meetup that was hosted here in Charlotte by my dude Tusock. Shout out to him. And they were like on Wednesdays at 5:00, and I didn't get off till like 8. And so I literally started like, I honestly being open, I started lying to my boss every Wednesday. Every Wednesday I was like, yo, I'm taking classes at CP and I gotta go because I got blah, blah, blah. And then I remember at the end of that period, my manager sat me down, again, so blunt. I love him, but I hate him. I love it because it forced me to get out. It motivated me to get out, but I hate it because it was the control thing. He sat me down and was like, yo, so school just ended. which means you ain't got nowhere to go, you ain't got nowhere to be, you gonna be working. Like, that's what he said. Like, he was talking for real. He was like, yo, school is over. Like, you gonna be working. And so after that is when I started lying, saying they got furniture coming to the house. My brother broke his nose. I was just like lying. Well, they were white lies. My brother broke his nose, but it was like last month. But they know that.
Nah, it was definitely lies.
Yeah, it was definitely lies. So it was that, and then the final straw for me, bro, was I sat there. Oh, he called me to his office one day, and my manager was like, so at the time, they knew I was making YouTube videos. Everybody knew I was making YouTube. I was on social media. And he told me, he was like, yo, like, I know that you've been leaving for something. I don't know what you leaving for, but you leaving every Wednesday. I can't have that. So you either gotta make a decision. You either gonna be here or you gonna do that YouTube thing. Which one you gonna choose? And I was like, my YouTube thing. And he ain't know what to say. He was just kind of like, all right. And then I left the office. But I mean, at that point, it was just kind of like, that was kind of like, all right. Obviously, nobody cares about my future like I care about it. They're not gonna put the same energy into it that I would. So it's like, I would rather leave and not make any money at all, or make very little to no money, than to be here working all day, be unhappy, be controlled by somebody else. I don't like it. I didn't.
So
like
you
it.
would rather, you chose freedom instead of a false sense of security.
Yeah.
When you think about that moment, and it's interesting that you say you're not really an aggressive person, essentially. When you think about that moment where your boss gave you this essentially ultimatum, to become this YouTuber that you've become now, or stay in this false sense of security, it took a sense of courage to really choose, I am going to be a YouTuber, right? And I think there's so many people right now that are constantly and consistently given that choice, but also always go back to this false sense of security.
Yeah.
Walk me through that decision. Walk me through the emotion in your body of standing up for yourself for this first time and being like, nah, like, I'm gonna choose my dream.
Yeah. You know what it was, bro? Honestly. So one, I've always been into podcasts. I love podcasts. I love motivation. So I remember every day working at the pawn shop, I would want to work in the back, like where we would like load boxes and stuff like that, because I always had headphones in and I was listening to Steve Harvey motivation. Wow. I was listening to Kevin Hart motivation. I was listening to Eric Thomas. I was constantly listening to people tell me about chasing your dreams and stuff like that. And so really I was kind of already in the mode to like, yo, I really want to leave. Like I don't want to be here. But for me, honestly, I was probably like just turned 21. I was working at a pawn shop, again, making $500 every 2 weeks. And it was like, I sat myself down one day and I said, yo, what do I really have to lose? Like, I don't know who it was. I heard an interview and they were like, before they made the decision to jump, it was like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And for me, I'm like, I live with my parents. I got a phone bill. I'm like, really, if I were to quit and not make money from the pawn shop, which was little to nothing anyway, it's like, what am I really risking here? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather take a chance on me than to be here and wonder what if, you know what I mean? Because the biggest thing, and one of my boys told me this, the biggest thing that I don't want in life is I don't want to get to a place where I'm older and I'm thinking, man, I should have did this. I should have did that. Why didn't I take a chance on this? Like to get to the end of my life and have regrets. I'm like, bro, I like that gives me goosebumps. Cause it's like I get to a point and mind you now, I'm working at the pawn shop with people who been at the pawn shop for 20 years or so. And they just like...
It's like this mentality.
And they don't even like the job. Like, they just there because they making money. And it might not even be good money. I would legit like going on paydays and stuff, and they'd be complaining about what they made and how they overworked. And it's like they not even making what they want to be making, but you've been here 20 years. And it's like do I want to follow that path? Like, and that was the whole path that had been set up for me, where like you got my manager training me to take his position and he don't even like his position. And it's like I come in like, and I've always been high energy. I walk in, what's going on? How y'all doing? I come in, I got music blasting and I'm having a good time. I walk in like, what's going on, everybody? And they like, oh, it's another day. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be here. And I'm like, you training me to take your position.
Exactly.
And you don't like it. If you don't like it, I'm not going to like it. And so it's like, I don't know, bro. There's so much that happened in that little period of time where like I jumped, but I think One of the biggest things, bro, is I watched that Steve Harvey video where he talked about jumping and just chasing your dreams and being like, yo, when you jump, you gonna get bruised up, but eventually I don't remember how it goes, but like eventually you gonna soar or something like that. And I'm like, bro, I have to take a chance on me. And this is no disrespect to anybody at all, but like I've seen this formula. I've seen the go to school, get a job, go to work. I've seen it. And it's like, if I'm being honest, it's like if I see my mom and I see my aunts and everybody around me do the same thing where you go to school, you graduate, you get a degree, whatever. Again, not saying nothing about like college degrees or college or anything like that, but if I've seen this and I don't like where you are or you don't like where you are, it's kind of like, why would I want to follow this model that proves to be broken? You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I would rather take the chance on me than to follow this and know like I'm going to end up in this place that I don't want to be in.
I heard a quote that says that be mindful of the advice that you receive from people because you also take on the lifestyle of the person that's giving you their opinion. So it's kind of like you learn from your mom, you learn from your aunt, you learn from these people, but you notice that they're as a part of this perpetual cycle that is like, I don't really like that. You learn from your boss and he's training you to take his position, but he's unhappy.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, you're training me to learn this new skill, to get this new position, but do I really want the lifestyle or the energy or the mentality that you have and a perspective that you have about this position?
Yeah.
So that so now you've made a choice. So I want you to walk me through this process of that moment to now becoming, you know, a super YouTuber. What were the steps? What were the things that occurred in that time period to be able to get you from that moment to how successful you've become now?
I would say I talk a lot, and so I'm trying to like figure out how to put it in a straight way, but there was not really a path for how I did it. You know, it was more like I quit my job, I started lifting, making money off of lift, but and that was the thing, bro. Like, so I'm a big spiritual person, right? Mm-hmm. And so like the thing that I prayed about was like, yo, like I want to make more money in less time. Mm-hmm. And Lyft was the outlet for me where I could work 3 hours a day and make $100 or so and make $600 a week by just doing that. You know what I mean? And so every other hour of the day that I had was strictly focused on YouTube and building and social media and stuff like that. And like,
was it education? Was it creation? Was it learning? Talk to me about what you were actually doing.
It was everything. It was meetups. It was podcasts. It was networking. It was like just getting on YouTube and watching tutorials and just learning. Like it was me literally like it was literally me sitting down every single day and saying, okay, this is what I need to do and this is how I need to do it. It was like, I'm trying my best to explain it because I've never had to like sit back and actually reflect on the moment. Sure. But it was literally just me grinding, man. It was.
What did that grind look like? So walk me through, I guess, your daily activity. So were you on, because anybody that's listening right now, mm-hmm. I want them to really be able to pick up the pieces.
Okay.
Because I believe that success leaves clues.
Right.
And it's interesting because it wasn't until I became successful that somebody asked me, how did I do it? And I didn't have an answer. But I believe that true success is being able to create other success. Yeah. I feel like Phil Jackson is an amazing coach, but until you win a championship and then you teach and then you go to another team and then you can win another one, or then you can have another team and then you can still win another one. Yeah. I think that's true greatness. For us to be able to become great, I believe it's all about succession. So now for you to be able to teach other people how to create the same success that you have, that's the form of greatness. So as we think through and reverse engineer, like, all right, the activity was I was doing this or I was doing this or I was doing this. How did you do it?
I see what you mean. So I'll run you through like a day, right? So I would wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock. I wake up at 5 o'clock. I would lift from like 5 to maybe, latest was 10, but for the most part, it was like maybe 5 to like 8, okay, or something like that. I would come home. I would write scripts. I would write video scripts. I would film those. I would edit those, and I was just posting.
Writing scripts. Walk me through that process.
So really, I have so I have like this like list in my phone of like just a bunch of ideas, right? A bunch of ideas that I get. Like sometimes I'll be walking down the street, I just get an idea. I may be in the store and I see something funny and I just want to exaggerate it. So I write that down and I'll just sit down and I'll think about like, I don't know, like I don't think to make it funny. I just start writing and it just naturally,
it just flows.
It just kind of flows. But like the biggest thing for me is, and this is why like a lot of my stuff is kind of different, is because I like to tell stories, right? I'm a storyteller, and whatever I do, whether it be the musical portions, whether it be the videos, I'm a storyteller, and that's something that like I remember. And this is a story that I really take pride in. I remember in third grade. It was third grade. Yeah, for real, it was third grade.
Now you got really excited over there.
Yeah, for real, in third grade, right? So we had this little like essay prompt or whatever. So you know how like they used to give you like, oh, this is the prompt, write around it and that type of stuff. So they had like this like school-wide, like not really a contest, but it was like a school-wide prompt. And I had to write a story based on what they gave me. I don't remember what the story was. But I remember I sat there, I wrote my story, and then like a week or so later, it was like some kind of meeting or something that we had, like with all the students and all that stuff. And they pulled up my story and they put it on that little projector, like the old school joint. And they was like circling like all of the stuff. Like I don't even know what it was. It was like circling all of the, I guess all of the, I don't know. I don't know. But like just going through my story and just talking about how creative it was and how detailed it was and like how, oh, look at how he did this and look how he did. And in my mind, I'm just like, oh, I was just writing a story. I was just, you know what I mean? And so like, I think that's really probably one of my gifts would be like the storytelling aspect of it. So when it comes to like writing scripts, every script that I write, every video that I have, there's no, this happens and this happens. It's like, nah, it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And it just walks you through like from the moment you wake up to the moment that Pops knocked Daryl out. It's like you get every single moment in the video. Even like sometimes like I'll have flashbacks in the videos just so you can understand like where this attitude is coming from.
So essentially, when you're creating your scripts, you see the visual and then you work backwards with the steps to be able to create this visual for a person.
I wouldn't even say that. Because a lot of times I'll just start writing and whatever happens, happens. Like I try to do like the whole like, you know, start with like the I forgot what the steps are called, but like you got the climax and resolution. I don't know the steps. I've tried to start with that, like to at least have like an ending and know what's gonna happen. But a lot of times it's like I just let it flow and whatever kind of happens. Like I'll just write and I'll be like, oh, this would be funny if this happened there. This would be funny. And then like I'll get to the end and say, okay, now what'll really take this skit over the edge? Like what could really happen that'll be funny? And I'll be like, okay, well maybe I don't know, maybe Pop runs somebody over with the car. Like I don't know. But like literally I'll write it. I'll write it to the point where it's like I don't know. Like
now you do know you gave it. You gave it. So essentially anybody listening right now, so 5 to 8, 5 to 10, he was lifting, right? And then you spent intentional time just with you and your script.
Yep.
But as you were thinking of this script, you walked through a step-by-step process to be able to create this story that would be not just an exaggeration of this character that you've created, but also an image to be able to be funny, to create laughter and entertainment.
Yeah.
But the last question that you ask yourself before you would finish the story is what would make this story unique? What would differentiate this story? What would be able to take this, again, like you said, this story over the edge so that you could be able to have what I call the unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
Or unique marketing proposition as well. After you've created the script, now what?
So after I create the script, then from there it's just really all about filming it. So I'll go back and I'll do edits on it sometimes, like because a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand like comedy is subjective a lot of times. So it's sometimes I don't know what's funny until people tell me it's funny. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times I don't know, so like I'll write something and really I'll write a script and a lot of times I'll go off script because like I'll write to have an outline, and when it comes to filming, sometimes I'll say something and I'm like, man, this don't sound how I wanted it to sound. So I have to like work around and stuff like that. But so from writing the script, it's filming, and normally I'll rent like Airbnbs and stuff like that because at the time I was staying with my mom, so I ain't had a space. Now I stay in an apartment and I ain't trying to be loud and get kicked out, so I'll get like an Airbnb. You know what I'm saying? And like I'll just like knock the videos out. But
so you would rent an Airbnb to get all your videos done?
I still do that. Still do that. Yeah, I still do that. And so normally I'll shoot like shoot. Sometimes it's 12 videos in like 2 days. Sometimes it's like 8. Sometimes it just depends on what the month calls for, really.
That's good, bro.
I'm not even sure if I'm answering the question, to be honest.
Nah, this is
idea.
and that's why, you know, the biggest thing with this podcast is to be able to pull the curtain behind like the actual person, like pull it back. So I think a lot of podcasts and just a lot of conversations that we have with people aren't authentic. Yeah. Right. Kind of like we were talking about at the beginning. Yeah. So I want to get to know the person. I want to be able to get to know the process. I want to be able to get to know the journey so that anybody that's listening right now can be able to retrace your steps so that they could be able to create this version of themselves that they want to be able to embody as well. That's what you mean. Now, how did you go from creating these scripts, working at Lyft, to now being full-time YouTuber? What was your strategy? What's your top strategy for somebody trying to become a YouTuber?
My top strategy is to stop trying to recreate the wheel. There's a lot out here. It's a lot of people who make skits. There's a lot of people who do essentially what you want to do, and it's just more about finding what works and then finding out how you can be different. So one of the things that I learned from like just studying other people, like in my niche, you got the Lennards, you got the Kyle Exums, you got the Desi Banks in them. And one thing that like I learned from them is like the ending of their videos always has like this surprise twist, right? Like it's always like the video can go one way and then it just takes an immediate left. And that's just
and that's like, the funny part.
Right. And that's the funny part. So I would say like just like study other people who do this and just try to find the patterns, because we all do the same thing, just in different ways, in different formats, in different structures, different comedy styles, but we all do the same thing. And so I would say that. And then aside from that, I would say get around some people who know what they're talking about. Because like for me, the tipping point was when I started going to these YouTube meetups and I met, and I remember I don't want to say it's like his name and stuff like that, but he was the first person who showed me what you could do on YouTube. So mind you, I'm coming from the pawn shop, again, $5 every 2 weeks. I go to this meetup and he's up there telling us how he can make 10 grand in a month. He's telling us how he can make 20 grand in a month.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. And this is my first time being exposed to that type of money where I'm like, yo, like you can really make that type of money. And so like I really just we just became cool. And like he's kind of like my mentor, my business consultant now. Like it's like when you get around people who know what they're talking about and know what they're doing, like especially in a space that you think you know it all. Like mind you, I've been doing YouTube since like 2012, so I think I'm doing it right until I sit down with him. He's like, yo, this is wrong and fix this, and like pay attention to like your YouTube analytics and all this other stuff that I've never really sat and thought about. And I'm like, man, like there's so much outside of just creating content. Like you have to really know and understand the people that you targeting and making content for, because a lot of times, especially on social media, like we focus on hashtags and algorithms and all this stuff, but a lot of people don't understand that algorithm is just people, and people are gonna be people. You know what I mean? Like as long as you understand your audience, then you're gonna be fine. Because like for me, it's kind of like if I know that my target audience is a 15-year-old boy, I'm not gonna make videos about filing taxes. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna make videos that he can't relate with. So I'm a figure out what he likes. He likes games. He likes girls. He likes food. He go to school. So it's like, what do they like? What do they do? What does their day look like? And how can I trigger them in a positive way to say, oh, let me watch this video or let me share this because my mama do that, my daddy do that. This is what my life look like. So I kind of like ran around this question, but I would say the most important part actually would be to I lost my train of thought. I don't know what's going on.
Nah, this is good, bro.
I completely lost it.
And it's so dope how a lot of times we don't get these questions asked.
Exactly. That's why I'm so.
So it's kind of like, oh, this is good.
I'm like, dang. Like,
I think what you're saying, and just kind of what I hear, is that the number one strategy is to know your target. Yeah. Like you got to know your audience before you just start creating content and all of these different things. You have to know who your videos are for. So when you think about, all right, so let's say I know my target audience. Okay. Give me a quick crash course on how to monetize my YouTube.
How to monetize it.
Exactly.
Now you talking about in terms of like the actual steps or like different ways that you can monetize it?
How do I get to it? What's it, 1,000 subscribers or 10,000 watch hours?
So you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time.
Okay. How do I get there?
So really, it's just about content. You got to post content. You got to understand audience retention, which is how long people watch, because that's what the watch hours are. So one, there's two things you got to focus on when it comes to YouTube. You got to focus on the click-through rate and the average view duration. The click-through rate is basically like your thumbnails and titles. That's like, it's basically you pulling people's attention. So it's like, if you scrolling on YouTube and you see my video, how likely are you to click on my video? Is it like my thumbnail? Is like, does it draw you in? Is it my titling? Is it whatever? So you have to focus on like being able to grab attention quickly, because again, people are scrolling. So you got to be, and that's where like it comes to like using certain colors. That's where it comes to like really studying your niche, because one thing that I learned so when I first started making like the YouTube videos and doing thumbnails and stuff like that, I heard from all these YouTube experts, like your thumbnails got to be crazy and you got to have like they got to be nice and they got to be creative. But what I found out from my niche is that a lot of people, like the ones that make comedy skits, they don't even do thumbnails. They just kind of have like a picture of their face and maybe some words, if anything. And so I went from doing that, doing like all these colors and stuff, to that, and I saw improvement in my click-through rates, which is, I want to explain the stuff the best that I can, but like click-through rate is basically like how many people watch it, how many people have the opportunity to click your video versus how many people actually click it.
Got it.
So when I was doing like these wild thumbnails with all the colors and lines and stuff like that, my rates were like 6%, 7%, maybe 5%, depending on what it was. And when I started actually copying my niche and saying, yo, well, they doing this, let me try this, it went from like 6 to like 14.
What?
And I'm like, man.
How long did that process take? What was that jump look like?
It was instantly. Because literally, like, all my thumbnails were like, I was making thumbnails for vlogs and I didn't know it, and that's a completely different type of content. And so for the people who watch skits, it's like they have an idea of what comedy skits look like. That's good. So they can see it before they even watch it. They know what it's gonna be about. And so I got all these thumbnails with all these colors and stuff like that. That's for vlogs, and that's for like the.
So you were essentially creating for the wrong niche.
Exactly. And so when I started studying mine and seeing, okay, well, this is what they doing. Let me try it. So I tried it one time, a simple video. A simple picture with like some words on it. And it went, again, from 7 to 14 instantly. And then YouTube kind of gives you like a ranking system as far as like from 1 to 10 on like your best performing video from the last 10. And that one went number 1 instantly. And the views went up instantly. Bro. And I was like, dang. So really, I'm trying to be all creative and doing all this other stuff. And it's like, yo, just stop trying to like recreate the wheel and just see what's working already. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. What's already working that you can just implement, as opposed to like trying to be all fancy and new, and you know what I mean? So
now, when you think about click-through rates and when you think about all of these different things, how do I get to, like, let's say there's somebody listening right now. It's like, you know, Daryl, I just started a YouTube channel. I know my audience. I'm going to start implementing these new thumbnails, and so that I can be able to increase my click-through rate. How do I get 1,000 subscribers though?
Really, man, it's about, honestly, the consistency. And then that's a very my bad. That's a very like broad answer. So I would say also one big thing that I learned is to study your analytics, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, because the platforms literally give you the blueprint to winning. So like on the YouTube analytics, like you can see how many people watch, you can see how often they watch, you can see the age ranges, you can see the like the demographics and like all of these things. YouTube literally tells you everything you need to know. Like I'll post a video and they'll tell you when people when they click out, they'll tell you when they scroll. Like it tells you literally everything that you need to know. So I would say like the first part is like, once you first of all come up with a schedule. And my whole thing with consistency is like, it's a lot of people out here who tell you gotta post every day and post like 3 times a day, and I don't do that. I don't do that because I don't want to sacrifice the quality for quantity. I'm not that type of person. I don't do that. There's a quote by Mr. Beast, who was like the biggest YouTuber in the world, man, and he was basically like he's basically like, he would rather make, I'm gonna butcher it, yo. I'm gonna butcher it, like I'm telling you. But like he's basically like you mind if I find a quote real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Bro. I'm sorry.
Anybody listening right now, think through the steps. Success leaves clues. So he woke up. He was committed to his process. He was committed to the process. He had a morning routine, but when he's focusing in on the scripts, now he knows his audience enough, so now he knows what to create. So then he's not just creating things that he wants to. He's identifying what his niche wants, what his niche wants, what his target audience is going to be attracted to, and then not reinventing the wheel, but being able to study his competitors so that he could be able to get ahead. And that led to 6% click-through rate to 14%. But then consistency is key as well. But anybody that's listening, don't sacrifice the quality for the quantity.
Right.
Talk to us.
So I found a quote. I'm mad at myself, bro, because I'm like, for some reason, it's like, I don't know, I'm having brain farts today, but all right, so the quote from Mr. Beast is, change your focus from wanting to get the most views to wanting to be the most talked about. And I think that's one of the reasons that his channel is so massive, because he doesn't focus on getting views. He focuses on like, yo, how can I get people talking? And that's dope, because, and like, this is something I had to implement into my comedy, because I'll intentionally be sometimes I'll do things in my videos that'll get people talking, right? So I had this video that I did where it was the one cheap friend or something like that, where basically it was 3 friends at a table, and the waiter came up, and there was one guy who was like, I'm not tipping. Like, what he doing his job. Like, what am I tipping him for? And like, I did that intentionally to see if it'd create conversation, because what that video caused is it made people go into the comments and say, one, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. It's disrespectful. You got other people who agree with it. You got other people who like, oh, well, I'm from the UK, and to tip is disrespectful where I'm from. And so it literally created conversation in the comments to where I'm not even talking to nobody. I just make the video, and y'all down there talking, but like, the more engagement you get, the more your content gets pushed. And so that video went stupid viral, because people are in the comments literally arguing. Like, I'm scrolling through the comments, looking at people. And again, it's not my intention to make people fight or make people argue, but it's understanding how to trigger people, not necessarily negatively, but how to trigger them to share, how to trigger them to comment, how to trigger them to like. So it's kind of like, and one thing that like I had to do was analyze my own behaviors. Like, sometimes I'll be on Instagram or TikTok, and I'll scroll, and I find myself stop abruptly, and I'm like, yo, why did I do that? What did they do that made me do that? And so I'll have to sit back and say, okay, maybe it was like, their video was very like, hey, stop and look at me. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's what I have to like implement into my videos, where I'm like, okay, to get you to stop scrolling, I have to be like it has to be quick. It has to be a quick, like, yo, like, I have to grab your attention instantly. Exactly. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then, I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I'm just running in circles, bro. My bad. I'm sorry.
Nah, this is good, bro.
The question, dog.
This is good. This is good. So when you think about like, all right, I'm growing my YouTube following. I'm growing it. It's growing. I'm at, like, let's say I get to 100 subscribers. Is it all about consistency? Is it more so about content? Like, how do you audit your YouTube page so that you could be able to get to that place where you're monetized?
It's consistency, but, and this is what I was saying. I think I was saying that so many people try to post like 5 times a day. It's really whatever works for you, even if that's 1 time a week, but it's being consistent. But outside of that, it's really content. And there's this quote that I have, another one I actually found. And the quote, I don't know who said it, but I thought it was so profound. And it's, the easier your content is to replicate, the more competition you face. And I thought that was hard, because I'm like, so many people, like, there's a lot of comedy on social media. It's a lot of comedy, a lot of people doing the same things, a lot of people who chase trends. But it's like, what makes you different? You know what I mean? Like, the thing that makes me different is I don't hop on trends. I mean, like, all of the normal stuff, all of the things that people tell you when it comes to YouTube, you want to collaborate and you want to like use trendy topics. I don't do that, because it's not evergreen, for one. It's like me just taking me and my thoughts and my creativity and putting it out. There's an audience for everything. So even if I'm not making content on like the NBA finals or whatever, it's like people are going to watch the content because they like me.
They rock with you.
You know what I mean? So it's not about like me trying to be trendy or me trying to just like if something happens on the news, I gravitate towards it and just do that and get views, because I don't care much about the views. It's more like, how am I making people feel? You know what I mean? And I think like that's one thing too, when it comes to growing, is like, the audience, they can tell if you authentic. You know what I mean? Like I really care about my audience. Like, I'm not just out here putting out just crap content. Like, I'm not like, every video I post, even if it's a short, like my shorts are 60 seconds. Every short has a story. Like, it's not just like this little funny thing and I'm out. It's like, nah, I like actually care about the experience that you get. Like, I want you to come to my videos and have an experience. You know what I mean? Like I want you to get a a bowl of popcorn, get whatever, come to my videos, and be ready to sit and literally watch a short film, like a movie. You know what I mean? As opposed to me just making comedy videos. And so I think for me, what's different or what helped my channel to like really stand out is like the quality, not in terms of like the camera quality, but it's I'm recreating your experiences. You know what I mean? My audience, they literally live the experiences that I'm creating. Like I have people who tell me my dad act like that, my mama act like that. So I can literally write your life and have you watch it. And you feel it and you're like, man, this is funny. I like this. You know what I mean? So again, I'm off track. But what was the question?
Nah, you answered it, bro. You answered it. Bro. Nah, man. It's funny because I think so many times we don't get asked these questions.
Yeah.
But when we answer, it's so authentic where you're literally dropping gems, and I hope people are picking them up because you've essentially created or given out the blueprint for how do you create quality content, mm-hmm. how do you retain, essentially followers, how do you increase your following, how do you grow your YouTube following as well, how do you monetize your page? You've communicated it all. Yeah. So I guess my final question, right? And I say this all the time, and I probably ask every guest the same question. If you had 60 seconds to share any message with the world, because you've went from the pawn shop to being able to empower so many people around the world, mm-hmm. what would be your 60 seconds?
60 seconds. Dang. Okay. That's a lot. I would say... Dang, okay. I'm trying to think of something good, man. And these are like 60 seconds to empower, mm-hmm. basically.
Like it's kind of like Daryl. I'm working at the pawn shop. Daryl, I just started my YouTube channel. Daryl, I can't figure out my strategy on Instagram to grow my following. Daryl, like I want to be like you. Mm-hmm. What would you say to those people?
I don't want to be cliche and say like the whole keep going thing. I really don't want to do that. But like, I just want you to know that it's possible to do whatever you want to do. I really want people to take and understand that I was making $10 an hour, making little to no money, working 12-hour shifts a day. Like I'm coming home exhausted. I was writing scripts at the pawn shop, like in between customers, like literally just like grinding to try to make my dream happen. And like, it's like when you're in a place where you don't see how it's going to happen, it's kind of hard to like actually like be motivated and say, man, like this is something that like I really want to do. But for me, and like, I'm gonna just tell you like my story because this is me. But it took me really getting around people and getting around. Okay, let me say this, right? Because I'm kind of messing it up. I would say be mindful of the people that you keep around you. Mm. Be mindful of your environment. Be mindful not only of the people that you rock with, but the people that your people rock with, and the people that your people's people rock with. Because like that all matters. Because the first time I saw somebody making 6 figures in a month, the first time I saw somebody making 5 figures in a month, the first time I saw somebody making $5,000 in a month, it was so game changing to me. I didn't know people made that kind of money. I didn't know that this stuff was possible. I had no idea. I remember at one point, I could never imagine myself being a millionaire. I could never imagine it. And I remember I was sitting outside one time with the same dude who I've been talking about. And I told him my dream car was a Tesla Model 3. And he told me, he was like, bro, your dream's too small.
That's facts.
And I was like, what you mean? Like, I'm like, that's my dream car. And he was like, how much is that car? Like $35,000? I'm like, yeah. He's like, bro, your dreams are too small. And I'm like, man. And so from that day forward, it was like, I really gotta, like, I was realizing that I was limiting my dreams based on where I come from and based on how I was raised. And so I had to get outside of my environment and get uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable because if you don't, you're not gonna grow. There's no way you're gonna grow. You think it was comfortable for me to leave a job where I'm making money to a point where I'm not making no money. I had never lifted at all. I didn't know. I quit and signed up the same day type stuff. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. I didn't know if my car was, and mind you, my car old and raggedy. You feel me? Like I could be driving somebody. Matter of fact, it was times, bro, where I was lifting. I remember I was in a Burger King drive-thru for this lady and my car cut off. My car cut off at the drive-thru. You know what I mean? And like, and I'm in the driver's seat. Got to play it off. Like, oh damn, I took the key out on accident. Like literally, bro. Like literally. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't know. Bro.
Did it pull off, bro?
It pulled out. Yeah, it pulled out. I didn't want to have a walk home. Yeah. But literally, bro, it was like just being at this point, man, where, but at the same time, through all of this stuff, through all of that, not making money, all of this, not like seeing yourself being better, don't forget to enjoy the process, man. I will never complain about Lyft. There are people who complain about Lyft and talk about like, oh, if you do this, you ain't making no money. If you do this, you broke it. It's like, bro, Lyft and DoorDash came in handy at a time for me where I had no money. It was at a time where I was making nothing. Like I was paying my phone bill off of Lyft. I was paying my car note off of Lyft. All that stuff. It came at a time where I needed it the most, but it was fun. Like I got up at 5 o'clock, listened to my podcast, listened to like my like hip hop and all that stuff, and like I had a good time. I genuinely enjoyed it, bro. And it's like I think for me that was the most important part. Is like don't get so caught up on where you want to go necessarily. Of course you got dreams and you got goals, but understand that this is the present. You know what I mean? This is what you have at this moment. So take what you have and make the most of it. You know what I mean? Take what you have. Literally, I could have never imagined myself being a full-time YouTuber. Never, bro. Never imagined myself ever being a millionaire. And I'm not a millionaire now, but I can see it. I can see it now. I can see it. Whereas before, my goal was like 6 figures. To me now, 6 figures ain't a lot of money.
It's not.
And that's crazy because growing up, it's like, man, I want to make 6 figures. I want to live in a gated neighborhood. And now it's like, the world is like, it's open, man. It's so much possibility. And I'm going to be open and transparent, bro. Like, I went from making $1,000 a month to my biggest YouTube check was $25,000 in a month. 25,000, and I was proud as hell. But like, I want people to hear it because like, it's real. Like it's real. Like if you literally chase it, bro. I just jumped and was just like, I'm gonna just bet on me, and I bet on me, and I really came out at the end better. It only took 2 years for me after I quit the job to like become a full-time YouTuber. It took 2 years after that. I quit with 5,000 subscribers. I had like 14K on Instagram. I quit. I grinded through it. And now I'm at a place where, bro, I've been talking a lot. But the main advice that I would give you is get uncomfortable and be okay with being uncomfortable and chase your dream and stop. Don't settle. Don't just settle. Again, you get one life, bro. You get one life to do what you want to do. You get one life, and you don't want to get to the end and have regrets. You don't want to get to the end and say, I should have did this. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Take the chance, man. Take risks. Why not?
That's a bar, bro.
What can you lose? You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't gonna lose much of nothing.
Where can we find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at Daryl Mays. You can find me on Instagram at Daryl Mays, TikTok Daryl Mays. I think that's about it, really.
Anybody that's listening right now, I hope you picked up the pieces. I hope you understood the clues that he just left to be able to help you become successful. I want you to get uncomfortable. I want you to get uncomfortable and get off the couch. Get off the couch and write your script. And not just the script to be able to create that YouTube video, the script of your vision that you want to be able to live, because it's possible. Get around people, expose yourself to more. Because if you continue to operate and involve yourself around small thinkers, you're going to remain small. I want you to put yourself around bigger thinkers. I want you to be able to put yourself on bigger platforms, and I want you to think of yourself to become bigger. I want you to persevere. The circumstance that you're currently in is not your conclusion, but you have to jump. You have to make the decision, and you have to have the courage to be able to step up for yourself. We're here with Daryl Mays. This is Around the Way podcast.